this app. I've been doing it for the last like 2 or 3 days. So my wife and I, we are avid Disney fans. That's actually like one of the biggest reasons that we moved to Florida. True fact. So we're annual pass holders, but if you've ever used the Disney app, I don't recommend it. It's slow, junky, and needs some improvement. Before I go on bragging on Disney, does anybody here work for Disney?
I used to.
You did? Okay.
We all used to.
So you're all aware, yeah, okay, good. Because I'm not the only one. And so I just wanted a really quick way to be able to take a peek at the best, like the wait times of the rides, what is the best part depending on those wait times, and do a whole bunch of stuff that way so that I can go really quick at a quick glance, see which is the best part to go to, so that when I want to go out for a couple hours after work with my wife, we don't go to a park that's absolutely packed. So there is a note package or an NPM package that I installed. It's called Theme Parks. It includes all of the major parks for here in the area, plus all of the ones in California, and then some in Texas, and then a couple international parks in like Shanghai and stuff. Really cool. I believe because of the slowness of the package that it's scraping the data off of the apps. So bear in mind if you want to use it, it does take forever. So I've actually cached all of this data out and then have a function that's running on a node server that just puts itself to sleep, and then every 3 minutes it makes just to see if we've the timestamp that I put on the cached object is timed out. If it has, then it'll go fetch it again. Takes like 30 seconds to get back the data, and then it'll reset the cache and then put itself back to sleep and wait for another 30 seconds, and then it just spins up and checks every 30 seconds. So that's what's going on here. Built out this UI just really quick. Again, this was something I did over the last couple of days. So you can see here that it gives us the Animal Kingdom is the best part, average wait times, Kali River Rapids is the ride that has the least amount of wait time. The Navi River Journey is the one with the most, and then Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and then you get the breakdown of the average wait times per park. Okay, so this is great and all, but it really sucks to get onto a web application or go onto the browser and go into this web page. So Progressive Web Apps is Google's way to push, take the web and really just make it as efficient as possible for a mobile platform. And if you make it efficient enough, you get a special little banner that pops up and says, "Hey, would you like to download this or save this app to your home screen?" If you click that button, then you get an app that shows up, which is great. I mean, you don't have there's no compiling, no weird stuff. You don't have to use Ionic, React Native, or any of that stuff. You don't have to build out iOS or Java for Android. It works. There are a couple different things that I played around with. There's a couple really great articles on this on Medium that just takes you through it. Like, here's a really basic, simple Hello World version of how to do that. We're going to just go in and talk about the basic components of how these things work and how to get them started. And then after that, I'm going to be open for questions. I know that there was some interest, or maybe I heard there was some interest about hosting and looking at different ways to host, create React apps, so we can look at that as well. So without further ado, the idea might be, depending on how easy this is going to be to show how to host this app, but I'm going to go start from the bare bones basics and just go into a create React app and show you guys how all of it works. Maybe. And if that's installed. Decent internet speeds. I'm in the Windermere area, and the internet is absolutely terrible over there. working from home, it makes it super, super crappy when the internet goes down. And this process and other processes take like 15 minutes. Okay. So I have a question. Visual Studio Code, who uses that as a text editor? We got Atom fans in the room. Sublime, Visual Studio. WebStorm, okay. What was that? Visual Studio Code won my heart probably 18 months ago because I loved Atom, and so you're going to see that the theme for Atom is just their Doc 1 theme that I use. But I got into Atom and then started trying to debug in the back end the way that I have it with different with Visual Studio. It wasn't working, and then the people that I was teaching with was like, "You should use Visual Studio Code. It's super easy," and I did, and I've never looked back. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is all super simple, and it just follows the outline of. There's an app. No. This article. Do you guys have a Slack channel or a GitHub or?
Not for this group, but here's the other.
Okay, sweet. Are you guys all members of it? I'm not, but is it private or can anybody join?
Yeah, we can request it.
Yeah, sweet. Because this is the article that I follow along to get this up and running. It's super, super easy. Anyway, so let me get back over here. Okay, so the basic way that this works out is you get your registered service worker. This basically tells the app that, hey, we want to be available offline or be available as a progressive web app. And then in order to do that, you've got to have a manifest JSON, both of which are things that are given to you for free through Create React App. You don't have to go in and do any configuration. They just work, which is super nice. There's a couple things that you need to do in order to get these things, get it so that the little banner pops up so people can download your app. But that's basically the game here. So Create React App gives us the register service worker and the manifest JSON pretty much already set up. There's a couple things that you need to tweak in this. And then inside of index.js, you've got your register service worker. And then once the app is actually built and compiled, you can either run something to serve the build file just to see it working, or when you actually host that wherever you decide to host it through AWS or Roku or whoever, your app you'll be able to download. You should get the banner and be able to download the app to your phone. So there's a couple tools that make this really easy. Which are built into the Chrome DevTools. So there is the audit, okay? So when you run an audit, this is going to check for your speed, your availability offline, if the app can run on its own without the internet connection and all that stuff, and if there's a public folder. Because this is spinning up on a local host and it's not in the build file, and that register service hasn't been actually pushed to, or the register service hasn't actually been used, because if you go look at the register service file, you'll see that there's a check for local host and all of that stuff. You get a progressive web app score that says, we'll go down here. You're missing some stuff. Failures, manifest destination doesn't have an icon of 192 pixels. It also needs 10512. You need to be through HTTPS. It doesn't have a service worker, which gets registered to that register service worker and all that stuff. To get this to work, it's pretty simple. For development purposes, you can just run the build. build. And then we can serve it. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's also the wrong one. Let's go look. Serve S build. This version of serve is good to serve. Oh, we already got one more running. Hold on, guys. Let's go. And okay, and now if we inspect this through that audits tool, refresh that. There we go. Okay. Now we get a much more favorable score. We still need to have those two icons, so let's go ahead and add those really quick. So in the manifest JSON, go grab this stuff, maybe. Okay. You can give it a name. And then for sake of just making it work, I'm showing you guys a Hello World example. I'm just going to use the favicon, which is the React logo. But anything that you imported there, you just need to make sure that it looks good at 192 and 512. And if it does, and you've got your start URL set up to be index.html, that's literally all you need to do. And let's go rebuild that really quick. And then restart it. Okay. And we'll rerun the audit. Much more favorable score. And then the last thing that it needs us to do, where is it at? SEO, progressive web app, did not redirect HTTP to HTTPS. And to deal with that, we can use ngrok HTTP 5000. If the redirect doesn't work, this might only give us the same score, but we'll see. Yeah, I think the HTTP needs to be a redirect, which we're not going to do.
What is ngrok?
So ngrok is a VPN tunnel. It's free. So basically what you can do is you take a local port and spin it. So run the ngrok command, which you can download if you're using Mac through Brew. If you're using Windows, I think it's just there's an installer for it. And you run that, it gives you that command in the terminal, and then you can run that off of any port, and then it spins up a VPN somewhere, and basically tunnels your local host to that VPN, so HTTPS works. And the HTTPS will work for authentication through Facebook, OAuth through all that stuff, which is super, super nice. And when you get into like trying to do Facebook authentication, Twitter authentication, and all of those guys need it, it just works. There's no, you don't have to go get a cert, you don't have to go do anything like that. You can just spin it up, put that as the callback URL, and it just works. So if you don't, I can Slack that. Oh well, once I get invited to the Slack channel, I can send that to you guys, the page for it. And it's super, super nice. Anyway, so once that's set up, we should go to the application really quick. Add home screen, this should work. Sure, while trying follow icon manifest.json to favicon that format size is not correct. JSON is not still the icon that manifest, which was very rough. PNG. So let me go grab something really quick. And I do not always go to Mickey Mouse as my default images. It's just been on the brain lately. That's good. Where am I at? Very good. Public. Shot.
What did you just do there with the multi-vector?
Oh, it's just Command D.
Command D?
Yeah, so if the two texts are the same, this works for Visual Studio, Atom, and all the other ones. And you hold Command D, you select both things, and you can just edit at the same time. If this doesn't work, you might be out of luck. You might have to go find an image. And I don't want to do too much research. Or do you guys will give this a shot?
So what's the minimum score?
So anything that's in green, which I believe is anything over 80%, will be good. Technically, it's all about getting that pop-up, because technically at any point in any web page anywhere, you can just download it to your phone and have it pop up. You can go to the settings, go down and say hit add to home page. The only problem is when you do that, you get a little Chrome logo that looks like it's a web page. It's basically like taking a web page and dragging it onto your desktop, which looks a little janky. But what you can do, I'll grab your question in just a second. So what it actually does is it looks like a real authenticated app. It'll use the same name that you've got. It'll use the logo that you've got. And when they click on it, it opens up and feels like an application. There are some strategies that you need to take as far as handling stuff offline, which you can just handle all that stuff through local storage. If it's a small app, if it's something big, there's other packages that you can use to handle all of that stuff. But when it's not offline, it'll go fetch from the local storage. When it's not, it'll actually hit your server and bring down the information. And no, so it works for all browsers except for IE, which, let's be honest. What was your question? Sorry. So you are going to see I mean, native is always going to be best because it's the stuff that runs in the operating, is what the operating system is built to run. But it's just what it basically is it's just a static web page that the phone caches. So it's cached on the phone. The files exist there on the phone. So anything that's a static file, which includes any of your routes, any of your readout state, any of your state inside of the components, anything that doesn't require database, all of that will be statically cached in the phone. So when they pull that up, you're just looking at a cached, basically web browser that fills and acts like a native application. So as long as it's compatible and you don't have any performance issues, if you're green on all of those areas, you shouldn't see any lag. So this is a really good alternative to some companies that are thinking about going and putting the investment into mobile, but they only want to do, really quickly splash landing page that we go collect some information from the user and then we push it off to our database. And then the back office people, the internal software actually handles all of the heavy data. If that's the type of thing that you're building, then this is a perfect solution. You're just like, hey, go to our website, and then they'll get the banner, they'll click the banner will download to their phone, and they'll be able to go access the stuff. Personal opinion, I'd probably only do this for very small creates, and I'd do most of the stuff for reads, just going and grabbing the information to show to the user, which is the point. Yeah.
Is there any way to embed a small database router?
Is there any way to add a database level to the browser? So there are some libraries that will do that, some caching libraries that will do that. But when you do that, you tamper. I think it's the RAM. Don't quote me on that. But you're messing with some memory on the phone, which ends up bogging down the phone. And so you usually have to go in and actually manually clear their cache, which can become annoying. So if you want to do something like that, that would work. Most of the stuff that you can keep, like store in state, the application will remember. Because when you're doing something, let's say that they're entering an address form and they call and go and then pop back, it doesn't refresh. It'll keep that state as it was in the phone and then continue on down the line. Working example of that, I don't actually have that pulled up yet, but I looked through enough stuff and watched enough stuff that that's the way it works. And I've got a few applications that actually are working. So let me go really quick. I do want to take up the questions, but let me make sure that this audit's working. So the last step, once you get all those green things in the audit, the only thing you need to do is pop over to the application, make sure that you're on the manifest, which should be the default option, and then hit this add to home screen button. If that add home screen button works and you don't get these console errors that I'm getting, then that means if you go to the app and the user interacts with it for like 2 or 3 seconds, they'll get the banner that'll pop up. So let me go give this a shot really quick. Make sure that this is working. Check the audit. Scores. Just to point out on the things that you need to worry about in this audit. You don't need to worry about accessibility best practices or SEO. You do need to worry about the PWA, the Progressive Web App, obviously, and then also performance. If those things are hampered, you don't get the banner. Okay. Let's give this a shot. I want to be Hail Mary. Hope this works. And added this site to show. Okay, so this should work. So if you guys want to copy that URL on your phone, you should be able to go there and get a banner that should pop up and have big views. And sorry the URL is so funky, but that's the way that ngrep rolls.
I'm surprised that Create React doesn't ship with the images you need out of the box, so you get a higher default score.
It would be nice.
It would be so easy to do that.
So I think that the idea behind it is they wanted to do an SVG for the logo. The ICO, the only file that worked, which is really stupid, is the PNG. So
You can commit PNGs to GitHub. so surprised that it just have some default
Right.
images. Some pull request for that.
Yeah, there's a couple things you actually need to also tweak and manifest just on. And if they did that, you could go create the React app, go hit the audit, make sure that it works, and hit the code and it should work. Anybody try it? Get a banner? Oh, it might have lied to me. Let's try it. Home/.
So you said the accessibility score doesn't matter.
It shouldn't.
So you can put a 0 on accessibility and also.
I think that they have to be. Everything has to be above. I think everything has to be at least in the orange. There's certain things that you'll want to do. It more affects those types of things. More affect your user experience versus.
Just surprised they allowed it.
Hold on, we got too many connections.
Oh, is it an Android?
It doesn't. It shouldn't matter. It works well both Android and iPhone. And drops cashed me out on access. I wonder. Yeah. No, go back. If I remember reading this correctly, I think I might have to host it, which I could throw it up on a Heroku application really quick, which I might do. You can also, if I could have you, at least one or two of you jump out. There we go. Yeah, add to home screen. So I don't know if this is iOS specific. It should be. It looked like it was going to work. Demo. There we go. So that you can see that I'm not a liar. Probably the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you just click on it, and it opens and feels like a native web app. But it should. If it's not working, we might have to do something to configure it for iOS. Was anybody else able to get it to work? And are you using iOS? Okay. So sometimes you got to mess around with it. Sometimes your phone might have to be.
I didn't see COVID, but does it have the app splash screen where it shows the logo first and then
It's no screen. You can activate this.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that just because it's a progressive web app, there's still no way to have it featured on some kind of like app store or anything.
No, so right. So the idea that Google's trying to be like, make people use our browser. It doesn't have to be Chrome. It can be any browser. Were you trying it on Safari? Was anybody trying it on Safari and having it not working? It might have to be Chrome. I'll have to look into why it wasn't working. There's probably a very simple reason. Something after tweaking the file. But so yeah, so you pull it down and it should run. The idea behind that is that they wanted people push people to the browser and then have people go to the browser and then have it pop up and be like, hey, do you want to pull this down and use it? Like I said, it's kind of I don't know if any of you guys have seen the GIF where people try to build out the whole car first and they start with and then they're like, most people try to take on web developing and then you see the way that we should, which is like a scooter, and then you get a bike, and then you get a motorcycle, and then you get a ar. That's the kind of approach that you would be to this. I don't know if anybody would ever want to make this their permanent, if they're a mobile website or if they're a mobile application, that's their product. This is the approach you'd want to take. But for the company that I work for, we do an HR tool, which basically we're a glorified, I can't say that because the product's really cool. What we do is we help people find different types of insurances and or we take the person's insurance and try to find the best procedure, the cheapest place to get the procedure done in the area, because depending on the insurance you have, if you go to one place, it'll be more expensive than another place, and it's the same exact procedure. And so we have a crap ton of data that has all of that locked in, but all of our data so that people can access is actually an internal facing thing. And we have very few actual client things that they can go to. We have like a sign up page, a login page, a give us your credentials page. And I think we just recently, within the last 6 months, released a web application that gives them a little bit more access to see, like, get sneak peeks of what things would look like. But this is the type of solution that would be really good for a company like what I work for. And I have pitched it, and there's some talk about it, although it's probably not a priority, as you guys are, I'm sure, aware. Business drives development, unfortunately, a lot of times. Anyway, so this type of an application would be great for something like that. It's like, we need to give user data so that they can see stuff. We don't want this to be like Google Calendar, where we give push notifications, all of that stuff. Although all of that works, and what they actually recommend doing is using a thing called Pusher, which is a glorified WebSocket. What Pusher does is it runs just like a WebSocket, but it also will run in the background. So as long as they have the app installed on their phone, we'll still continuously update the data as long as they've got an internet connection and they don't have their internet blocked to that particular application. And if that works, they'll go back to the application, like, for example, in my Disney demo, and they'll be able to go back and see the actual times as they're updating in real time. So I know that it was a super simple example. I was hoping to have something a little bit more polished that we can code, but I didn't get here late, and I was going to take some time to code out some stuff, but I don't want to steal a whole lot more of your guys' time. I am open to any and all questions, and we can take looks at other things. Yeah. Yeah, I will. Yep. Yeah. For sure. No, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. I'll push it up. I'll give it Mike afterwards, and we'll talk about Slack channel, and I can make sure that all this is put up.
You can also invest in too.
Yeah, that'll probably be best. Yeah, I'll put it in the meetup, and then I'll just have it open source and all that stuff, so you guys can go grab it, pull it down. Yeah.
I mean, this is like rappers.
So under the hood, I think that it mostly works because of the power of phones, and they're getting more powerful, they have more storage, and they have more RAM, and they're more capable of things. I think the approach that Google was trying to take is, hey, we don't need people to go find, there's hundreds of millions of applications on their Play Store, and so it's just like, your people are going to go to your website anyway because you're going to see them on the business card, give them a QR code. And we might as well make it so it's super easy, so they don't have to go like click to a link and then that opens up the Play Store. And sometimes that fails, and sometimes that works. Let's just pop it up and have it downloaded and it works just as a cache, basically a cache website on the phone. And we've got the storage space, and we might as well use it with it. I think the approach. No, you're good. Get out.
But you said that for your company, you have like a form, things like this. How would you able to using data? What would be the best practice?
So the idea would be to set up a socket. Right, with Pusher. So the reason for that is, let's say the person lives out in the boonies, and this is just a really quick, we need to get your information to be able to install a home automation security system type of thing. And we just need you to jump onto a form really quick, download it to your phone, and then we're going to give you status updates as we fill out the rest of your steps through this application. So, but let's say they live out in the sticks and their internet's spotty and best, then what you would do is you would go check to make sure, see if you would do like a get, see if you could the API was active. If it is active, then you just post and run it like normal. If it's not, you take it, you store it locally in storage, and then you set it basically a set interval, and you just tick, and you go check until the internet connection is ready. And when it's ready, then you pull from the local storage and push it. Yeah. Other questions? We don't need to talk about just progressive web apps.
Well, see, so I'm surprised that you said they don't let you even list the progressive web app on the Chrome store.
Yeah.
See, that to me is a key differentiator, because if I'm looking for a mobile app or I'm looking for an app in general, if you go on the App Store, you can see the
It's there.
apps, you can browse the apps, but for a progressive web app, that might be just as awesome. I can't do it.
Right.
I have to find it in the Googles.
So there was, in my research, there was a store that they used to have that was integrated into Google Store, and they found that people weren't using it. The way that progressive web apps were working was to go through the web application. So I guess the approach is they didn't find like this was going to be the be all ends all to applications. They more wanted to be like, you're at the web, we're going to give you status updates to this website anyway. We might as well have you download it to your phone so you don't have to go to a certain URL.
You also don't have to, your user doesn't have to add it to their home screen to get all the other benefits of the rest. So if they just pull you back up by their browser history, it's still cached, still loads instantly. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So you feel like if you go to like Pinterest web app, it's all progressive. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
you pull that up, it's like once you look at something once, it's like always. So you can do that. And you see nothing.
Another advantage, is if you have a small business, they're never going to find your app in store anywhere, but they would go to your website and know the potential of getting some extra service they might use. So I do understand who uses it, but I also think like really, really small clients, it's not so bad.
Right.
You know, they have a mobile presence that they sort of, but nobody go over and look for like, those type of information app. So I think that might be an option.
Right.
So that
So like I said, I don't think that this was meant to. It might be in the future because Google invested a lot of money in making this work and making it as cool and slick as it is because Chrome has all the tools that you need. It's basically those three things. And Create React App makes it extremely easy. I believe that the Angular CLI does the same thing. And for those of you that dabble in the Angular,
The BCLI.
the BCLI, you're gonna have to tell me what that is.
The view.
Oh, yeah.
Secretly better. Just keep pretending you know.
No, I do. View. I'm just like, is that what they call it? Is they call it the BCLI? VCLI?
Yeah.
I know. I've worked around with Vue. I built their Hello World app. I'm interested in it, but I really, really, really like React because I like how everything is so modular and you just this component only needs to know about this component, and they don't need to all be known somewhere in the application. So. And I also like that the data flow is downwards and it's not dual binded, and I like the way that the life cycle works. There's just a lot of advantages, and I've done everything under the sun as far as JavaScript frameworks go. I've touched Ember, I've done some Vue stuff, I've done Angular 1, Angular 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 now, and and React just makes. And this is opinion. This is a complete opinion, but
this is the React.
right. So, but I'm telling you guys, React, as far as I'm concerned, the way that React is, it doesn't try to be more than it needs to be. It is just a framework that lets you use JavaScript JavaScript and HTML in a really cool way. So I'm all for it. I'm also, and I think that React in and of itself is really good when you mix it with Redux. And you've got that state, and then you don't have to worry about the weird prop path down. And it's like, oh crap, I've got two siblings that are a mile apart, so I got to go back to the source. And you just go subscribe those to Redux. It makes the entire process just super slick. So, yeah. The profiler for React, or I haven't. What is it? Okay, we can go look. We can go look.
Yeah, it's pretty great. We had some performance issues. It's not really related to Chris, but we had some performance issues. It looked like that's what's wrong with that. So, it's like so if you use the performance profiler in Chrome, so if you use that in React, every time there's a big reactive, it's like React, which is actually more than a user should. Now it's just you because React is not that helpful, right? Like, okay, React. If you use the React profiler, it shows you the same thing, but like every how long it took to render it, how many times.
Okay. That is actually way cool. I haven't used it enough to be completely honest. I've only used React in enterprise and contract work that I've done. Unfortunately, I haven't worked for an enterprise company full time in a React project. Hopefully that will change soon, but we'll see. We'll see how good my sales skills are.
Instead of waiting to learn, for example, as a model, for example,
Just like just to save web page. I want to say that it will be built into Chrome and it'll feel like an application inside of like if you've got the Chrome apps, it will work like that. But I don't know if that goes all the way down into the Windows desktop. I think that it was specifically made for iOS and Android, but I might be wrong.
You run into any issues with the service worker, like in production, someone push something up but it doesn't update, or it doesn't update?
So I haven't run into anything like that, but this is within 2 weeks of working on it. So you might run into issues. You'll run into issues doing anything, and I don't know how the debugging process is.
There's a section in the creative React where you need that's not registering.
Well, yeah, so, well, yeah, because I think normally like in that, you're supposed to show like a notification or something. The service worker knows when it's been updated. But if you do a React app for not an app, like you're just creating a site or something and you don't expect that would end up happening once, you push up a version and you want to push up a new version, but people have the old service worker, and even if you unregister the old service worker,
So
they
it takes
still
a
have it.
Right.
And you can't get rid of it. So I actually opened up an issue on React app, and I think it's still an ongoing thread of just people, hey, I can't unregister my service worker.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes a little bit greater.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of counterintuitive. So, agreed.
So ideally, if people just hard refresh and click the cache, then that would
Right,
get
so
rid of it.
the hard refresh, it's fine, but the issue is you want
Right.
to see it right away. So it's like, if you have a service worker, it's great, but then you push up changes and they don't see it, and it's a problem.
Right.
So it's like,
I'd be able to fix that by
but even with that, no, because it's still service deal, because the service worker knows it's updated, but they still need to refresh for it to get new stuff. So it's like, if you don't have a notification and tell them to refresh, which you should, then you're screwed, because then they'll just never refresh. And at that point, you can't have a notification because they have the old service worker.
A valid point. Probably a good issue to open up with them.
Stuck in time.
Yeah. You guys ever? Let me show you. This GIF defines my programming life. Oh, this is so great. It's like, guys, if you just refresh your browser, the problem would be there, and they don't want it. Okay, good deal. So, any other questions in regards to anything? Yeah, so I can go ahead and throw all this stuff up. I'd love to. Where's the meetup? That's not the one. Just as a comment, will that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me throw in a bunch of URLs.
So you said you use some libraries for Redux offline as well?
Yep. So Redux will work offline.
Did you use a library called Redux offline?
I've not. No. Is it supposed to be the bee's knees?
No, I was just wondering if you used it, just because I've been doing research on like how to handle Redux offline, and found what that library did was like if the user went offline and they're progressing through the app, and if there's an API request that needs to go out, it caches the API, or it stores the API request in a separate store, and then when you regain connection, it fires all the API requests. And then updates
That would be
the
pretty
state.
slick.
So it was kind of interesting.
It seems like a automated way to handle things that I've done manually, which I've done.
So it's like they could be going through like a survey, for example, going through every single step, firing a request.
Right.
And at the end, if they regain connection, it uploads everything.
Right.
And updates the states. I was just wondering if you'd use that or similar.
I haven't, but I'd be interested to look into it. All right.
Sure, you can do research, but about
Sorry, stream up.